I've never seen a good answer for what to do right after beginner guitar lessons. Hi, I'm Ben Brown. 20 years ago, I picked up the guitar and ran into this problem. In order to move forward, I had to get a degree in guitar performance, but you don't. There are 3 things you'll need to overcome the post-beginner plateau. Let's talk about them. First thing, shape shifting. Keep your eye on that guy right there. Bop, bop. Now watch the guitar transform this shape. Shift. Da. The way the strings are tuned establishes a pattern. However, it breaks that pattern. If you can't get comfortable with how the terrain of the guitar ends up shifting and unshifting these shapes, then you're going to miss out on one of the simplest ways to get mastery of the fretboard. If you can just apply this transformation forward and in reverse, then you unlock a lot of the guitar. So that's the first thing you should really get comfortable with to overcome the post-beginner plateau. If you have your skill over here, you have the time it takes you over here. Beginner, we'll put you in this bottom corner here. Beginner guitar lessons felt like this steep progress. The process is actually quite enjoyable. I remember getting towards the end of beginner guitar and projecting out, wow, even on a conservative estimate, I'm going to make my way up to the top pretty fast, huh? Anybody who's gone through can tell you that would be the wrong forecast to create, because undoubtedly the next step is to hit a plateau where your skill does not improve, but time marches on. This I call the post-beginner plateau. You'll encounter many plateaus. I can remember going back to that moment where all of the momentum just totally stopped. It was tough to hit that wall. And it's one thing to hit it. It's another thing that people don't know what to do. I have not come across anything that has a satisfying answer to the post-beginner plateau. In my sense of it, all the way back then, and something I believe now, is that there is some key pieces of information and tools. If you knew about them, the post-beginner plateau would not need to feel like the train slipped off the track and got stuck in mud. Fixing this little plateau is why I have pulled together a set of lessons. I'm calling it Beyond Beginner Guitar. It is a handful of theory-heavy lessons designed for the kid that I was 20 years ago. Smart, bright, able to take their way through beginner course just fine, but ends up directionless and lost as soon as you get to the end. That lost momentum is what I want you to regain. Overcome the post-beginner plateau and enrich your life with guitar again. So I'm in the process of making Beyond Beginner Guitar. You can join the waitlist. There'll be a link in the description. Give me a little bit of information about yourself and get onto that waitlist. We can see if we can get those lessons into your hands. The second of the 3 things that will help you overcome this post-beginner plateau, you're going to have to do a little bit of unlearning. Let me give you an example. What do you think of when I tell you to play an E major chord? In your head, you did this. If I told you to play A minor scale, that's what pops into your head. However, that is an example of bad chunking. In cognitive psychology, chunking is grouping up of information. It is taking the word A minor pentatonic, and instead of seeing every individual dot, you've grouped it all together and made it one cohesive thing. This is an example of bad chunking. Bad chunking. They're really just too big. Because both of these ideas span the entirety of the guitar, your idea of what an E chord is or what an A minor pentatonic scale is has been inappropriately chunked together. These should be reduced. This information shouldn't be grouped together. This is a much more appropriate chunk for the A minor. This is a 1-octave version, much better chunk. And for the E chord, a more appropriate chunk, this, the major triad. Just those 3 notes, that's what an E is really about, and a much more appropriate chunk. Why is it useful? We're back to the start. Reducing the size makes these much more malleable and useful chunks of information. Take this scale. Say you wanted to keep on playing this up the guitar. Well, you take its shape that we found, you understand how the guitar breaks that shape. Shift, boom, you just created a 2-octave A minor scale. And it's the same shape. And so it's much easier to remember a basic shape and then be capable of transforming it in the exact same way. This triad, if you move it up, trump, trump, shifted, you'd end up being able to see how this is actually a very similar shape as the A major open chord. But that's not legible when your information of what an E chord is that big chunk. So you have to do quite a bit of unlearning to untangle these big 6-string choices. That's the second thing that you need to do. You need to go from big chunks of information to more useful, smaller chunks of information. And the third thing that's going to help you overcome the post-beginner plateau is you need a framework for music theory. Let me show you a clip from one of the lessons. All 12 notes have found a place in these buckets. What was that? This is admittedly experimental, but essentially you assign all 12 notes within the octave into categories of tension and release. This is kind of my own little pet thing. I was the most tentative about teaching it. Some of the more advanced folks who have gone through the course expressed quite a bit of excitement in this framework. Essentially, music theory is powerful, but it can also be really sprawling. To simplify it down into something as fundamental as tension and release is a very natural thing. And for sure, when it comes to overcoming the post-beginner plateau, the first 2 tips are all you need to really start progressing. But the theory framework is definitely how you just keep on going. There's not a lot that becomes really intimidating after such a thing. Like I said, this is my particular flavor. It's still being figured out, but I've found it to have quite a lot of reach. And so let me remind you, in the description, you can join the wait list for Beyond Beginner Guitar. There's a link in the description to let me know that you're interested. I'll take a look at that wait list. I'll let in those who I know will benefit. The course is 4 hours. It's intentionally small to respect your time, to make it possible to sit with this thing for a weekend, download all that knowledge, and then hand glide off of this plateau, find new heights, enrich your life again. Those are 3 things that you're going to need. How the guitar transforms the shapes that you move around on it. While it was useful in beginner guitar to learn the things the way that you did, it's time to unlearn them. And there's a little secret sauce. Getting into theory is how you really unlock the continued heights. You've made it to the end. And since you've made it to the end, let me tell you the thing that you can do that helps me out the most. The top thing is to watch another one of my videos immediately after this one. As an extension of the course, I plan on creating a video that is practical advice for sounding good. That would be a great one to follow up on this. If you want, you can let YouTube know that you like guitar content by hitting the like button, but do not hit the subscribe button unless you want to see more of me. As of now, I do a mix of both music and highly technical nerdy stuff. Only subscribe to me if you are interested in both of those things, interested in me and following what I do. So have a good one. Enjoy that next video. Bye.